Hey guys, got in the new Streamlight Strion 2020. This was just released at SHOT Show 2024, and I'm recording this on February 29th, and I'm not sure if they're even available at retailers yet. And if they're not, they will be in the next week or two. So the original Strion has been around for, I think, 15 years or so. That and the Stinger, and they're kind of like service or duty lights, kind of designed for law enforcement, security, military, EMS type stuff like that. And unfortunately, I don't have an old Strion to compare this one to, but like normal, I figure we'll do a real quick unboxing. We'll go over all the features and specifications. I'll show you all around the light. We'll go over the user interface. I'll get some nighttime shots and then give some thoughts on it. Front of the box tells us down here that it's rechargeable. Tells us it's 1200 lumens, 28,000 candela, and it looks like that we have a mode select switch. It's going to have a battery indicator. And again, we'll go over all these features whenever we get it unboxed, but just wanted to show you around the box. And here's some stuff on the back. So again, 1200 lumens on high, 460 on medium, and 120 on low. All right, let's get this unboxed and we'll see everything that comes with this. There are a few different models. So what you see here, I'll have to show you the different ones that they have. So this is how it's presented to you. You get the flashlight here. It looks like it's locked down in a cradle. So we'll go over that. And then here's everything that mine came with. Again, we do have a charging cradle. We have a 12-volt car charging cable. And then we have your 120 wall charger. Looks like some screws to mount this. Manual. And then it looks like a sticker and then some just advertising stuff, 50-year stuff. So before we get into all the details, I'm just going to give you guys some close-ups here of the Strion 2020. And this is a full production model, so I do have a serial number on it. It's not a sample or a prototype or anything. Let's pull the battery out real quick so you guys can see what comes with it. This is unfortunately a proprietary battery. Even though it is 18650 in size, it's a 3.6 volt, 3450 milliamp hour battery, and in all dimensions it's an 18650. But I think they do something where they put like the positive and the negative or something on both ends. I have seen some other manufacturers, yeah, if you look right there, it's positive and negative are both on this end. I can't think right now. I'll put it up on the screen when I remember who else makes batteries like this, so those might work. But you can buy replacements of these, but you cannot use just a regular 18650, and you cannot use like two of the CR123A batteries. It basically has to be this one. And the other thing that kind of sucks about this is that you have to use the charger to charge this up. You cannot put this in a regular like external battery charger, which means every time this battery needs charged, it has to be in the flashlight, which means then that you can't use your flashlight for the 3 to 4 hours that it takes this thing to charge back up. So if you are going to use this as some type of duty light or service light, I would highly recommend buying the second battery. And then when you're off shift, charging 2 batteries up every day. You may not need the second one, but I'd always want to have a second one with me instead of placing this on the charger for 4 hours. And I don't know how well that's going to show up, but there's basically 2 points down there. There's a tall one in the middle, and then there's a shorter one on the edge there. And that's basically what happens here is like the tall one goes into this, and then the shorter one hits that. So you got like your positive and then your negative. And then when it drops down in there, it makes contact with those. And one other quick thing I want to show you guys, and I love Streamlight. I have dozens and dozens and dozens of them. But I will say that the wall on this, I know that the whole thing is made out of some type of 6000 series aluminum, but the wall seems a little bit thin compared to some of the other ones that I have. I almost feel like if you were to drop this, let's say you're fighting with somebody or running after somebody or whatever the situation might be, if this just got dropped, it almost feels like that could dent pretty easily. And if that happened, you might have a hard time getting the battery back in or out. I'm sure that Streamlight has done hundreds or thousands of hours of testing on their stuff, but that just seems a little thinner than what I'm used to from them. Grab you guys some measurements here of it. The overall length is 6.33 inches. The head diameter is 1.25. If you were just at the barrel of the lighter body, it's a 0.95 inches, so just under 1 inch. And then if you went up here where like the charging post is, that diameter is 1.35 inches. And the weight with that battery in it, I got 5.8 ounces. Quickly show you the manual just in case you get one and then end up losing it. Here's the English version. No pictures or anything like that. It's a pretty short manual, but you have it then. All right, I'll kind of show you around here and then we'll talk about features. You do have a rear tail switch, which is rubberized, texturized, feels really good, very grippy. No way to miss that. Even with gloves on, you'll be able to get to that easily. There is like some knurling and some ribbing right there. Again, very secure in the hand. I'm trying to turn it, it won't turn at all. Like it really grips your hand well. That would be good with wet hands, gloved hands. You have another switch here, and they do the exact same thing. We have a lumen output selector up here. This is where we're going to charge it. And then we have the head and LED. That is a TIR optic lens on it. And in this front switch, they do have a battery level indicator, and I'll show you that whenever we turn it on and go over those outputs. This has an IPX7 waterproof rating, and it does have a 2 meter impact resistance rating on it, which is like 6+ feet. So they're saying you can drop this from 6 feet and not worry about it. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't get scratches and dents and stuff dropping it from that distance, but it means that the light will continue to work for you. So to use this light, it's actually very, very simple. Up here is your lumen output selector. You've got low, which is the far left here, which is 120 lumens. And then there's like a medium mode, which is 460. And then there's a high. And so if you want low, you just leave it there. If you want the medium, you move it over. If you want the high, you move it over. And you can switch between those modes while it's on too. So if you start off in the low and then a situation arises that you need to go up to the 1200 lumens, you just flip it over there, real fast. So we'll start off in the low. I'll show you what that looks like. Again, you can use either switch and you can have a momentary or a constant on. So you can take this and just slightly press and get this momentary, and then when you release, the light shuts off. Or you can fully depress it and leave it on constantly. And again, the exact same thing to be done with the other one, momentary or constant. And this low can run for 12 hours continuous without any type of step downs or anything. And the beam distance on this is 110 meters. And it's 3,000 candelas on low. And then we'll just go ahead and flip up to show you it goes up to the medium next. And again, either button can shut it back off. Either button can turn it on. On the medium, you're going to get 460 lumens. That's going to run for about 5.5 hours. Again, no step down. So basically almost 500 lumens, no step down for 5+ hours. Your beam distance on this is over 200 meters. And it's about 10,000 candela. And to switch to the high mode, just flip it over there. We'll turn that on. And on high, again, I said earlier, it's 1200 lumens. That will run for an hour and 45 minutes. After, like, it gradually over about a half hour time does step down on this to about 800 lumens. But then for the next hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes, you have 800 constant. It does not step down anymore. So that's actually a really nice feature. 800 lumens is still a lot of light. There also is a strobe feature on this, and you can be on any of the 3 output levels. And when strobe comes on, it's always at the max level. So I'm in low right now, and to turn strobe on, it's just a quick double tap of your rear switch here. And if you see here, if I switch the output, the brightness is not going to change. So I'm all over in high now. But it's still a nice feature. You know, you could be using like your low light, and then you're reading something, and all of a sudden you need to use strobe, and then you can just double tap and get into it really fast. I'll show you that battery level indicator. It's basically built in behind the switch here. So I'm going to turn the light on, and you'll see it here. Basically, green means good. Red means it's getting low. And if it's flashing red, it means that you definitely need to get it on the charger. I don't know the exact levels. I'm going to say that green, you're probably somewhere between, I don't know, let's just say like 10 to 100%. Below 10% is probably going to be red or so, and flashing means your battery's basically about to die. So as long as you're green, you're good to go. So personally, if it were my light and it got down to the red, I would go ahead and get it on a charger before it gets to the flashing red, because as the battery voltage decreases, your light output is going to decrease. So if it were me, when it's on red, put it on the charger. And even though mine's showing green, I am going to get it fully charged up before we do the nighttime shots. This still uses a micro USB cable. I don't know if you can just use any cable or if it has to be a Streamlight one. You probably can use any, but we'll get that plugged into there, and then we'll get the light set on that, and we'll get things charged up here. So when that is a steady red, it means it's charging, and when it's fully charged, it'll start blinking. All right, going to show you what the Strion looks like inside the house. We'll start off on the low setting. Just keep in mind that the iPhone will adjust. I really just kind of want to show you guys what the beam looks like. You can see there's like the hot spot, but then there's also like a secondary ring. Kind of see it right there by the arch right there right now. So kind of over there, you can see that. All right, let's switch up to the medium setting next. That's a nice bump up. Again, now that ring is kind of really noticeable more, but really good hot spot on that wall right there. And then we'll go on up to the high setting next. Very nice. All right, we'll take a look at the Strion outside now. I'm about 50 feet away from my deck. I do have some lights on up there already, but this will still give you an idea. This is the low setting. Bump it up to the medium next. Again, outside, you're not going to notice that ring that I mentioned inside. And then we'll go to the high next after that. There you go. I'm going to stay on the high setting and go up into this pine tree. Again, there's a light on right here, but as you can see, that's a really nice beam. Really illuminates things nicely. And finally, I'll do this corner here of the house, which is pretty dark. And as you can see, that lights it up really well. Hopefully seeing those indoor and outdoor nighttime shots were helpful for you. So I've only had the Strion 2020 for a few days now, but I still want to share some of my initial thoughts with you guys. So I'll start with a few negatives. I just don't care when manufacturers do proprietary batteries. I just don't understand it. This seems to be an 18650 that's been modified and protected. I wish they would have went with a 21700. A 21700 is barely any bigger than this and has almost double the capacity, which would have basically given you double the run times, and then you wouldn't be worried about your battery potentially, dying in the middle of the night on you. I don't like that this has to be inside of the flashlight to charge. If they want to do this proprietary battery, figure out a way to also put a USB port on it. That way, if you had a backup battery, you could still be running your light and then just charging this, with the USB port or whatever. Because as it is, I cannot charge this battery without it being inserted in here and then charging via that, which then also means that you have to have the cradle everywhere with you. Again, they do include the car charger, and you just plug this end into this, but you have to have this with you all the time. So you have to have this at home to charge it, or then you have to take it with you in your patrol vehicle or whatever to charge it. You can't charge an extra battery because it has to be in the flashlight. So basically what you're going to have to do is get an extra battery and then spend all day or all night trying to charge two batteries to take with you. I just don't care for that. I like that this updated version does have a battery level indicator on it, but I do wish that they were a little more specific. It basically just says green is good. If it's red, then it's low. Well, I'd like to know, is red, does it start at 20% capacity remaining? Is it 10%? So I kind of hope that they'll update that and kind of let users know where exactly you're at, because if I'm down to 20%, I may want to charge this up if I have a few minutes or whatever. So it'd be nice knowing those couple small things I didn't care for. I didn't like that little ring that's at the very edge of the beam pattern. It's not noticeable outside at all, but indoors, it's almost like you got the hot spot, and then it's almost like there isn't light, and then there's like this ring again. I don't know. It was kind of weird bouncing off the wall the way it looked. And the last thing I don't care for is there's not a way to get to strobe without fully clicking the light on and back off a couple times. Like, I'd like to be able to just hit this twice and go right into my strobe, because it's supposed to be two presses to get into it, but the only way you can get to it is to double tap all the way. Then you can get to it, and it makes that click click. I would like to be able to just hit that and go right into strobe. Having said those few negatives, I still think this is a pretty sweet little flashlight. I absolutely love this style of switch. The Stinger 2020 had the same style. It's so easy. If you know that you use low more, you just keep it there and it's always on your low for you. If you want to switch to high, it's super intuitive and easy to do. I like having the battery level indicator on there. I just wish that the manual was a little more descriptive on what it all means. I actually like having the two switches on it. One, you can be either searching or signaling, doing traffic, whatever it might be, and do it this way. Another time you may need to pull your light out and then go into a defensive situation and go to that rear switch on it. So I like that as well. I know I mentioned early in the video that the wall seemed a little bit thin, but I do think overall that this thing is built really well. I think they use premium materials. I like the design of it. I like the texturing, the grip of it. It feels really solid in your hand. Streamlight has done a really good job with their output versus heat dissipation with this Strion 2020. So basically, like, if you want to be in the medium setting, which is 460 lumens, you can turn this on and it will stay on that 460 lumens until the battery goes dead, which again, takes a few hours. And I know some people will say, well, 1200 lumens on the highest setting, that's not all that high. I've got a flashlight that's 3000 lumens or 5000 or whatever. All of those lights that are 3 and 5000, usually after about 20 or 30 seconds, they will step down to 500 lumens or 600 lumens, and then they might step down again a minute or two later and end up at 300 or 400 lumens for the remainder of the time. This light here, 1200 lumens, you turn it on, and it will stay there and just gradually over about 30 minutes decrease to 800 lumens, and then it will maintain that 800 lumens until the battery dies out on it. That's actually very impressive. And the final thing I want to mention about it is that there are a ton of accessories. Again, you can buy all the additional cables, charging cords. You can get stations where you can put, 6 of these Strions in it. If you have the old Strions, your charges will still work for this one. You can buy additional batteries. You can get rail mounts, vertical grips that have mounts on it for it, traffic wands, diffusers. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and then different holsters or sheaths for it. But overall, I do think it's a great light, and I would definitely recommend it. I would just tell you guys to get an extra battery probably right from the jump. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not 100% sure if these are even available yet. I know that there are some retailers that are showing them, but I'm not sure if they're actually shipping them out yet. But I'll leave a link to Streamlight's website down below. And then if they become available on Amazon, I'll update it and leave a link for that as well. But all right, guys, if you found the video helpful or informative in any way, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And that's going to be it on this one. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.